George Radcliffe, please.
Silence.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence which I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Mr. Radcliffe, you are a citizen of the United States, are you not?
Yes, I am.
And you have been living in London how many years?
About 5.
During which you have been, and still are, an executive of the Jason Root Air Freight Corporation.
An employee, sales manager.
Mr. Radcliffe, on the night of Wednesday, the 1st of September, you were in the offices of Jason Root's Air Freight Corporation.
Yes?
You had been asked to work overtime?
No, I was doing some personal work.
You had not been asked to work overtime?
Employees never worked overtime unless they volunteered. It was company policy.
Did you know that upon that evening, an unusually large sum of money in cash would be turned in by drivers who had made COD collections that day?
Anyone who had been in the main office any time during the day could have known.
Anyone? Well, how anyone?
Daily shipment information was posted on a bulletin board.
And anyone reading that bulletin board would have known that over £60,000 in cash would be on the premises that evening.
Anyone who could decipher the code we use in those listings.
The man whose charge it is to post those listings, he would have to know the code, of course.
Yes.
Would you tell us the name of the man who, on Wednesday, the 1st of September, was in charge of posting?
Donald Heath.
Would you speak a little louder, please?
Donald Heath.
And so, on the evening of Wednesday, the 1st of September, there were 3 known persons on the premises. Yourself, the deceased, and Donald Heath, an otherwise disinterested employee, one prone to error and absenteeism, who, on that particular evening, had volunteered to work overtime.
It had nothing to do with the money. I had to work overtime. I had to try and make it up. I was trying to catch up with...
Silence. Mr. Root and yourself were aware of one another's presence?
Yes, he dropped in my office.
Did Donald Heath also drop in?
No.
No. Mr. Radcliffe, you saw Donald Heath at his desk in the main office?
Yes.
Did you speak to him?
No, his desk was at the far end. And when I passed through, he was bent over as if...
You did not pause as you passed through?
No, I went right to my office. I'd run out to grab a sandwich. I knew I wouldn't be getting home till pretty late. And as I was coming back, I remembered I hadn't called my wife to tell her I wouldn't be home for dinner. I wanted to call her quickly to tell her to go ahead and eat and to apologize. And as I started dialing, I heard Root call me.
Thank you, Cliff.
It could not have been Donald Heath who called you.
He wouldn't call me Cliff. Martha? Guess who didn't come home for dinner tonight? Well, I thought I'd better work over my market reports from the States.
One of these days you're going to lose your pants.
Not me. I use my wife's money.
You Americans have no scruples about your wives going without their pants.
Oh, I don't know. A couple of hours. Maybe less than that. I always like you to wait up. Bye.
Had your supper?
Oh, I had a sandwich.
I had to wait for those CODs.
Did they come?
Would you like to help me count them? Come and see how it feels to stand in cash up to your...
Don't rub my nose in it.
Come into my office and have a drink before you go, eh?
Okay.
You pursued the man. You caught him. Thank you, Mr. Radcliffe.
Mr. Radcliffe, when you came upon Mr. Heath down there in the boiler room, did he have anything in his hand?
Yes.
Would you tell the court?
A bottle.
He was not holding a satchel containing 60,000 pounds?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Radcliffe. No doubt you've become aware in the course of the trial that the boiler room was searched, and searched again and again, but neither the satchel nor the 60,000 pounds were ever found.
Yes.
Yet you are certain that the man you saw run from the office of the deceased, a satchel in his hand, and the man you came upon concealed in the boiler room, a bottle in his hand. You are absolutely certain that these were one and the same man?
Yes.
Please think carefully, Mr. Radcliffe. You could in no way be mistaken.
There was no one else down there. The officer and I made sure of that. I don't know what happened to the money.
Forgive me, Mr. Radcliffe. I'd no intention of ruffling you. But do you not think it possible that the man with the satchel entered the boiler room and then went out again through another exit, while the prisoner, Donald Heath, had been down there all the time, in fact, for the whole time of the robbery and the murder? Might not such an explanation be possible?
No.
Well, then, you may as well step down, Mr. Radcliffe.
You didn't have to come, Martha. That jury's taking a long time.
It's the money that's worrying them.
Even in Old Bailey, you can't get away from money worries.
I wonder what he did with it. Why doesn't he give it up now when it might mean his life?
It's about the only thing that could make a man give up that kind of money.
Your shoulder?
Quite a deal. This could be it, Martha.
Who is he?
My future partner. If nothing goes wrong.
Yes, sir, we have. We find the defendant guilty.
No. No. No, I swear to God, no. You got it all wrong. Radcliffe. Radcliffe. God in heaven, Radcliffe, please tell him the truth. You know I didn't do that. You know that, love. You know I didn't.
Silence.
Radcliffe, please.
I'm sorry.
Tell him, Radcliffe.
Silence.
It wasn't me. You know it wasn't me. It must have been you.
Silence.
It was you, Radcliffe. I didn't do it. It was he. He did it. You did it, Radcliffe. It was you, Radcliffe.
Cliff, let's go home.
Martha, if you don't mind, I want to take a look at something. I want you to see it, too. Now, there it is. That whole string of buildings, beginning with that dark one and running all the way over to where that white ship lays. That's what I meant when I said quite a deal. It now belongs to International Freight Forwarding. But if we can pull off this deal...
We?
Morris Brooke, the fellow I talked with in court today. He's in a position to... He can take over International, but he needs someone to put up a certain amount of... Wait here a minute, will you? What do you want?
Why do you ask?
You were following me. You were in court.
Yes, I have been following you, haven't I?
Why?
Simply drawn, Mr. Ratcliffe, irresistibly and all that.
What are you?
That warms it, Mr. Ratcliffe. It's been years since anyone cared enough about Jerry Clay to ask him what. I'm a counsel at law. Take it, it's worthless. The bar retired me.
What do you want?
To thank you for your superb performance in court today. How admirably you told your tale. Standing there like truth carved in brass. No, I assure you my interest is purely professional. They can't retire a man's interest, can they? No, that they cannot, Mr. Victor. Reduce me to earning an honest living as a handyman of all things. That they can do. But reduce my interest in...
In what?
Well, I've often wondered, what does a man do after he's condemned another man to life imprisonment? Does he take tea? Go to church? Make love? I have this compulsion to watch a man's behavior at such a time. You might call me a kind of intellectual peeping Tom.
You? Cliff!
Some kind of a nut. Did you hear what he said?
You looked about to kill him. What did he say?
Nothing. You're cold.
Mm-hmm. I'm warm now, with your arms round me.
Are you tired of living the way we live?
No.
You don't mind always going without everything?
Oh, I have some things.
No, we're talking about two different kinds of having.
I've never minded being without what you call everything.
I have.
Yes, I know.
It's almost over. This being without. Thanks to International and Morris Brooke. Do you know how long I've been waiting for this chance, Martha? All those years in the States after the war and nothing happening, nothing. And then coming over here and more nothing.
That man, Brooke, you said he needs someone with a certain amount of money?
And the knowledge of the freight business.
You have the knowledge.
I have the money, too. You don't think I've been playing the stock market just to be playing with something, do you, Martha?
Has something good happened?
I've made a killing.
I put your plane ticket in your briefcase, Mr. Radcliffe. And as usual, our Mr. Collett will meet you at Orly. Oh, the conference is being held at 25 Rue d'Astorge. I put it in your notebook, along with some other reminders.
What's this name?
Castor, as in oil. He's the bandit who's making this air freight brotherhood meeting necessary. I put skids beside his name, meaning put them under him before he undersells you and all your decent competitors out of business.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, incidentally, I recall your being dissatisfied with your hotel room when you went to Paris last year. Oh, no, it was the year before. Was that just because Mrs. Radcliffe wasn't along?
How do you remember every little thing I tell you, Miss Osborne?
You pay me well. Oh, Mrs. Radcliffe isn't going with you tomorrow, after all, is she?
No, I'll just be gone a couple of days.
I didn't leave you a reminder to send her flowers.
No, you don't have to remind me to do that.
I know.
I have that kind of wife.
She has that kind of husband.
Happy night out, darling.
Well, have I forgotten one of our anniversaries?
Oh, Miss Osborne wouldn't let you. I gave her a complete list 5 years ago, the very day you hired her, to be exact. And I add to it from time to time.
You look mighty special tonight. Mm-hmm. Something on?
No, pure lark. Care to indulge me?
Is that a crow's foot right near your left eye?
Well, take me somewhere elegant and dim and tell me it isn't.
I was kidding about the crow's foot, but you do look a little... Are you upset underneath all that finery?
Oh, no. No, I'll wait until you finish up, and then we'll go and have dinner and...
And then right home. Relax and read about world tension. I've got to go through some of this before we leave. Miss Osborne, if the shipment goes by sea, we'll be hit.
Have you read this story?
I haven't seen the news yet.
Well, they've been talking about it on television all day. They've even shown films of the place where it was found, abandoned.
What was found?
A mailbag full of letters.
Oh.
It was one of the bags stolen in that mail train robbery about 5 years ago, remember? The bag was untouched. They assumed the thieves hid it and never got back to it. Cliff, do you know what they did, the postal authorities? The letters were all perfect, unopened. So they simply marked them delivery delayed and sent them on, just as if there'd never been a robbery.
Very British. Miss Osborne, send a wire to the Merchant Bank, Seattle,
Cliff.
and tell them the...
One of those letters was for you.
Did you bring it?
No.
Why not?
Are you going to be angry?
Because you've opened it?
Oh, Cliff, I resisted it for hours. But there it was, and the newscasters were drumming about it, and it was addressed to our old place.
What was it, a bill?
No, it was very personal.
Better check that portion before you claim it's been paid. I may be mistaken.
It was about the murder, Jason Root's murder.
Where is it?
I threw it away.
Where?
I thought the first thing you'd ask is why. In the wastebasket in your room.
All right. Why?
Because of what it said.
What did it say, Martha?
Radcliffe, you killed Jason Root. I have no feelings for Heath. Let him rot. But I do feel for that £60,000 that you helped yourself to. And my feelings should be worth $30,000. Get it to me within 10 days or I'll go to the police. And it was signed Jeremy Clay, Box 211, London.
You know what I think? You believe it.
Oh, Cliff, don't even joke. It's nothing but blackmail.
Who's the clown that found the mailbag?
He threatened to go to the police if he didn't hear from you in 10 days. But you never got the letter, so he couldn't have heard from you. And he obviously didn't go to the police. He didn't write again or call, did he, Cliff?
This is really bothering you, isn't it?
No. Well, yes. Yes, it is a little bit. I'm not in the habit of getting letters that accuse my husband of being a thief and a murderer.
You didn't receive this one, Martha.
Anyway, Cliff, I figured out the dates, and the dates prove that it isn't true. The trial was 6 years ago, the robbery 5. That means the letter was written a whole year after the trial. Now, if this blackmailer knew about you, why did he wait so long?
You mean if he knew I was a thief and a murderer?
Oh, Cliff, please. He waited because at the time of the trial, you didn't have anything to be blackmailed for, and there was no reason to think you had stolen the money.
And killed Root.
Oh. Then a year later, he must have read about you and Morris buying out International and figured...
And figured I'd mourned Root for a decent interval and then used his cash to buy this big plush world we live in. It was just about a year after the trial, wasn't it, Martha? And they never did find the money. And that kind of puts me smack in the middle of one hell of a coincidence, doesn't it?
Yes, Cliff, but that's all it is, isn't it? A coincidence.
A hell of a coincidence. Dinner at the club all right with you?
Yes. Yes, of course.
Will we have to wait?
Your usual table is... I'm sorry we didn't expect you tonight, Mr. Radcliffe. Would 35 minutes do?
We'll wait at the bar.
Oh, you can't. Thank you.
Thank you.
The usual?
Yes.
You're not going to let a little 5-year-old blackmail spoil your dinner, are you?
Let's not talk about it anymore, Cliff. I threw away the letter, you got rid of the spool.
I think we better go right home and talk a lot more about it, Martha.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Drinks, Cliff.
Well, hi. Your old friend, Mrs. Harris, would love you to join us at the dark end of the bar. I'm Cindy.
Lily's here.
We were just going to finish our
Let's
drinks.
go over and say hello, Cliff. She'd be awfully hurt if we...
Shatter, but never show it. She shatters only internally, rather like a mine.
Darling. Nobody told me you two would be free tonight. Well, how are things in paradise? Oh, did you meet my Mr. St. John? Manfreda, these are my Ratcliffes, George and Martha. Buy them drinks.
No, we have...
Oh, man is my latest young man. I support him while he writes his ponderous little plays, and in return he keeps me from growing too old while my husband does the diplomatic circuit.
Have you heard from him lately, Lil?
Only by check. Isn't it terrible of me? I love having everyone suspect everything. Do you suppose I do it to feel superior? I mean, knowing I'm innocent and watching all those inferior people suspect the worst. Suspicious people are inferior, aren't they?
No, not all. Not to begin with, anyway.
Well, believe it or not, I am innocent. All I've really been doing with Manny is trying to get him to write one of those angry dramas about young people fighting out their problems on a mussed bed.
I deplore anger. The most I allow myself is petulance. Admittedly, it's somewhat feminine, but then feminine emotions are easier to understand. Don't you agree, Mr. Radcliffe?
I don't know. My wife doesn't get emotional too often.
Be quiet, Manny. Buy me a drink. Shall we dine together? Just the four of us.
We were just on our way home.
Well, just the three of us.
Well, Cliff has work to do. He's going to Paris in the morning.
You're not going?
No.
Oh, well, of course, we'll do a bit of shopping together. I'll call for you about 10-ish. And while we're shopping, you can tell me about all this.
Night.
Going already?
Good night, Mr. St. John.
Cindy.
Trouble in paradise.
Why didn't you call me at the office as soon as you read it?
Read what, Cliff?
Oh, you know, that letter that accuses me of being...
Oh, really, Cliff? I'd forgotten all about it.
Martha, you had that whole letter memorized. You must have read it over and over. Why didn't you call me about it?
I didn't think I should read a thing like that over the phone.
Martha, look at me. Look. Do you really think...
Oh, of course not. You're my husband, and I love you. You couldn't be a murderer.
Because you love me.
Well, I couldn't love you if you were guilty of such a thing.
No, Martha. You couldn't think I was guilty if you loved me.
I love you.
Martha. That letter gave you an awful shock. If it hadn't, you'd have called me and we'd have laughed about it.
Yes, I know, Cliff, I know. That's the way I wanted to feel. I'm sorry.
All right. It wasn't a funny letter, and if anybody got a hold of it...
Oh, no one will. Please, Cliff, let's never mention it again. Let's simply forget.
No, we won't forget it until you're convinced that it's nothing but what it is, a rotten...
I am convinced, Cliff. You've convinced me.
Look, Martha, this whole business has been dead for years. Even the fellow that wrote that letter, he never even followed it through. It's all dead, and you've got to kill it, too. Do you think I ought to go to the police about it? Blackmailers have a terrible edge. No matter what they say, everybody believes it just a little bit. What do you think that kind of suspicion would do to me? My business, my life, everything. I'm not going to let it happen, Martha. Nobody's going to let that happen. Understand that? Martha?
Cliff, you have to be up early. You know how we are when we start talking. All at once, it's morning.
We never did get around to dinner.
I'm not hungry.
Why don't I bring up some sandwiches and we'll sit and talk and...
No, Cliff, please, I can't.
I can't believe this. We've been married too many years. We know each other. We know everything about each other. Do you think a woman could live with a man, can sleep with him and not know she's sleeping with a murderer?
Do murderers make love differently? Cliff. Cliff, I'm sorry. And you're right. I'd know, somehow. Come to bed.
If you doubt me now, Martha, it's because you've doubted me for a long time. Maybe since I made all that money. Maybe before that. Maybe since the trial.
Oh, no.
George Radcliffe, please.
What's the matter, Martha?
Nothing. Nothing, Cliff.
I have that work to finish up. I think I'll sleep in the study so I won't disturb you. Information. Do you have a listing for a Jeremy Clay?
Well, thank you. Thank you for the information. Good night.
Cut yourself. Why don't you use an electric razor?
My father gave this to me on my 13th birthday.
Did you need it at that age?
Well, I've always had more than my share of whatever they call those male things, hormones or something.
Yes, I've noticed that about you often.
Anyone hearing us making this self-conscious small talk would think we'd spent the night together.
You packed?
Last night.
Didn't you work?
I'll try on the plane.
I didn't go to sleep right away. I almost called you, but I thought you were working. I heard you on the phone.
You want to know who I called, don't you?
I wanted to last night. I'm not very proud of it.
You're acting like a wife who's just begun to suspect a mistress. Only your suspicions are worse.
My suspicions?
Aren't you? Suspicious?
I don't know. If I'm acting like I am, it must mean I am. At least a little.
You can't be a little suspicious, Martha. It's like virginity. No degrees. You either are or aren't.
Cliff, I'll cancel my shopping with Lily and go with you to Paris. I want to be with you.
No, I think you need a few days alone to think.
Oh, but I don't want to.
Well, do. And before I get back, have it all straight in your mind, get your mind all cleaned out.
Oh, yes, I will, Cliff, I will.
I don't know if you will, but you better try. Martha, I don't want to have to prove anything to you. I resent it. I want you to believe me.
I don't need proof.
Sometimes we all need proof, even if we shouldn't. Throw that in my bag.
Well, of course, you haven't told me the whole thing, Martha, and I don't blame you because heaven knows I talk. But I do think the last place in the world to allow a man to go off to, even when relations aren't strained, is Paris. Of course, being a woman, all I know about that side of Paris is what men tell me. But if I had a husband like George, if I even knew a man like George, I'd be on the next plane. George is in that taxi, Martha.
Lily, please don't play pranks.
Pranks?
George is in Paris.
I saw him in that taxi. No, Martha, George is not in Paris.
What do you want? Who gave you the right to come barging in here?
I was given this address for Jeremy Clay.
By whom, may I ask?
Someone helpful.
Pity we can't all be that way. Helpful, that is.
I can help you. Follow me.
Thank you. Jim?
I'm sorry I can't ask you to sit down.
Do you know where I can find Jeremy Clay?
Well, I said I did, didn't I? Oh, sit on my half of the bed. You see now why my wife left me? She said she didn't mind going without board, but at her age she really wasn't going without bed. The lusty creature.
Look, I'm late.
Bibliomania, it's called. That's what I have.
Where can I find Jeremy Clay?
Now, we'll come to that later. I started my collection with Bibles and then worked from holy selectivity all the way down to what is known as books of an unexpurgated nature. The kind that nice folk think you can only buy in Paris. Which brings me to Mr. Clay. He had a strong fancy for such literature, and when he lived here, he used to pop in and leaf through them.
Where is he now?
Finally married. And not wisely, but fairly well. A woman who owns a bookshop the next street across the road.
Lovely object.
My wife said you wanted to see me, madam.
Oh, no, it was nothing important, Jim. I just wanted to know if Mr. Radcliffe got off all right.
He seemed to, ma'am.
Was his plane on time?
Yes, I think so.
Did you see him board the plane?
No, I let him off at the check-in.
Oh, yes, thank you, Jim.
Taxi! London Airport, quick!
Yes, all right, Betty, I'll take it. Hello, Cliff. No, I was awake. How does Paris feel? Well, you're the sort of man who should never go to Paris without a woman. Yes, of course I miss you tonight. I missed you today, too. Oh, well, it's probably only one of Lily's pranks, but she said she saw you in a taxi today, in town.
Do you think Lily would play that kind of a prank? Are you still on, Martha? Say, look, I've got to get this conference started. I'll call you in the morning.
Oh, Cliff, wait. I can't seem to simply ask you directly if you were in London today.
I'll call you in the morning, Martha. Good night.
Yes, Betty.
That gentleman is here, madam. Mr. Radcliffe's associate.
Mr. Brooke?
Yes, madam.
Ah, I'm sorry to barge in like this, Martha, without calling. I know you prefer to respect the formalities.
What are you doing in London?
Business?
It must have been very vital to pry you out of your New York.
It is very vital.
George is in Paris.
I know. Would you mind airing out the guest room? Miss, will you take my bags, please?
Now, these jet flights are all very fast and practical, but you tend rather to wind one up. My hat and coat, please.
Would you, care to unwind me, Martha? A drink would help.
Betty, when you've aired out the guest room, would you bring down my robe? It's a little chilly down here.
Yes, madam.
Some people manufacture their own chilliness, the way others generate their own heat. Martha, you're the perfect hostess. Even though you may not care for a guest particularly, you remember what he drinks.
did you know George was in Paris?
He told me.
Last night, when he called?
Did he call me last night?
How did you first meet George?
How? I'm not quite sure. I remember. Quite naturally, I suppose. I'm a born promoter and George an intrepid gambler. It's quite natural we'd meet sometime, someplace.
When?
What do you mean, the precise day?
Yes.
The day I had something grand to promote, and George had something grand to gamble with.
You'd make a very poor witness, Morris. You never answer directly.
Oh? Am I supposed to be in the witness box?
I think I'd better be going to bed.
What a lovely way to end mere conversation. A perfect hostess would show me to her room.
I'd rather not be perfect.
You can't help it.
Now, please, Morris.
You know, I think you rather enjoy it.
Enjoy what?
Treating me with this passionate animosity.
You can make even animosity sound provocative. Now, come on.
You needn't actually fawn over me, but you might show a tiny glimmer of gratitude. After all, I'm the gentleman who took George by the hand and led him into the plush life.
I cannot imagine anyone leading George by the hand.
Not now, perhaps, but once upon a time he was the most desperate fellow.
You mean before the murder?
Who's murdered here?
Jason Root?
There are many ways a woman can show gratitude.
Oh, Morris, please stop it.
I'm after a bit of sweetening. My drink, I mean.
You know, if I told Cliff...
We'd be very cross. He'd smack my hand.
He'd kill you.
George? Come to think of it, did he once tell me he wouldn't hesitate to kill me if I double-crossed him over our little deal at International? But I'm sure he wouldn't do it over anything as casual as passion.
Excuse me, madam. Here's your armor.
Oh, I thought...
That meeting can be finished any time. This has to be settled now, Martha. Finished. That's why I came back.
Oh, I feel so bad.
I was in London yesterday.
I don't care, Cliff.
I was looking for Clay to make him...
Oh, don't talk.
To make him admit he was lying when he wrote that...
Well, you know he was.
Well, admit it to you.
Did you find him?
He wasn't there. You'd like to hear it from him, wouldn't you? That's the kind of proof that would convince you, isn't it?
No. No, I feel convinced, Cliff. I feel convinced now.
That letter wasn't enough to do this to you, Martha. You've always thought I killed Root.
No, Oh, please, please, don't. Don't move away.
I won't. If you don't want me to.
I love to hold on to you, Cliff. I love you.
Always have.
I always will. I promised. That first time, when we rented the little cottage in East Hampton.
West.
Was it West?
May I help you?
Would I be permitted to look at the files of a trial, a murder trial?
If you could give me the details.
This lever will adjust the focus for you, madam. And to raise the columns, use this dial on the left.
You did not see Mr. Radcliffe return to the office? No. That part must be like he said. He must have gone past while you were doing what, Mr. Heath? Searching in my desk for a medicine bottle. You kept medicine in your desk drawer. Have you a recurrent illness, Mr. Heath? Yes. I'm an alcoholic. And in your medicine bottle you kept? Whiskey. I'm not trying to deny... Indeed you are not. You seem, in fact, to be attempting to build your entire defense upon your alcoholism. You found the bottle? Yes. And? Well, I knew that Mr. Root was in his office. Indeed. But I had to... I couldn't go on and work my overtime without at least... I didn't want to be seen by Mr. Root, so I did like always. Which is? I slipped out and went down to the boiler room before Mr. Root was killed. Of course, no one saw you slip out before Mr. Root was... Well, I don't know. Maybe somebody did. Maybe Mr. Radcliffe did. He saw me at my desk. Maybe he saw me slip out, too, before the murder. Mr. Heath, throughout my questioning, and throughout the questioning of your own counsel, you have deliberately and blatantly attempted to cast suspicion on Mr. George Radcliffe. Well, he was up in the offices. I wasn't. I was down in the boiler room. We all know he was in the offices, Mr. Heath. We also know that Mr. Radcliffe, in the company of a police officer, pursued you to the boiler room. Well, then he was chasing somebody else. It wasn't me. Somebody he knew, maybe. Maybe an accomplice. But that must be it. Him and this other man. Mr. Heath, are you asking this court to even consider that George Radcliffe could be involved in a plot to rob and murder a man who had been a great friend and, as we all heard, a friendly benefactor? Mr. Heath, after observing this inhuman, immoral effort you are making to save your own neck, I doubt if there remains in this court one person who can continue to believe in your protested innocence.
I can. Yes? Mrs. Heath. Oh, may I come in?
I thought I'd never forget your face. Any of those faces. Funny how I almost did. Well, what do you want?
Please, may I?
I thought nothing had brightened this place, except Donald walking in, free, cleared. But I was wrong. You brighten it. With your clothes, your hair, your complexion, and your jewelry.
Mrs. Heath.
How did you find me?
The welfare people.
Oh. I didn't live here at the time of the trial, you know. We had a nice little place in Streatham. Donald's never seen me here. Would you like your husband to see you in a place like this? Or what do you want?
I want you to tell me something.
As a favor?
No, I'll pay.
What do you want me to tell you?
The truth.
You can't buy that.
I know.
Want some tea? I always drink tea when I feel like being sick. Donald tried to keep things down with whiskey.
Mrs. Heath, your husband's in prison. He may never get out. If you would just tell me... I mean, if you know, and if you can believe me when I swear I'll never tell anyone. If you would just tell me...
What?
Your husband...
What?
Was he...
Was he what?
I'm sorry, I can't...
Can't seem to be able to say it? Why can't you ask me that simple question? Was my husband guilty? What does it do to you to have to come here and ask me that? Does it make you want to be sick?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Heath.
What's going on, Mrs. Radcliffe? Why do you come here asking these questions? Something happened to open up an old sore?
I have no...
You were in court. You heard everything. You saw. You saw my husband weep. Those tears washed away his manhood, what was left of it. But they also washed him clean. Innocent. Women know innocence. Now, your husband didn't weep. He sweated a little. And sweat doesn't clean. You knew even then that he was guilty. Women know guilt, too, you know. Well, if you've lived with it all these years, why can't you go on anymore?
It never even crossed my mind.
They said they'd review his sentence if he told them where the money is. You think he'd let us live like this? In this garbage pit if he had that money? You think he likes jail? If he knew where the money was, if he could touch it, he'd tell. Donald would tell. He's cured, you know, of that drinking business. He's got a half-nice color to his face. Like when I first knew him. I guess your husband's got a nice color to his face all the time. The money he's got. You can buy sunshine, even in London. What are you throwing away there, Lucy?
You have to believe your husband's innocent, don't you? You have to blame someone else.
I blame the rats. Here, look. Hungry rats always get the bait without getting caught. Buy the truth. I meant you could have it free. Now you've got your truth. What are you going to do with it? Drink it down every day and sleep it away at night? You think drink will kill it? Or love? Try it. Lie in his arms. Let him love you. Let him touch you with his hands. Murderer's hands. Let him kill the truth for you. Just the way he killed Jason Root. And my Donald. And maybe someday he'll kill you too.
What are you doing in this place?
Martha, what are you doing?
Oh, Cliff, she looked so terrible,
So you wrote out a check. How do you think this would look if it got into the wrong hand?
Oh, Cliff,
Listen, don't you realize my testimony sent Heath to prison? Now I give his wife money. What kind of money? Conscience? Hush? What kind?
I don't know. What kind of money do you have?
This could ruin us.
What kind of money?
Martha.
Tell me, where did you get that money?
We'll talk about this at home.
No. Right here. Now. Cliff, where?
I told you I made a killing.
Oh, I know that phrase. Down the years, it's made bad dreams.
In the stock market, Martha. I explained it to you. That day by the river. Remember the day I showed you International?
Yes, I know. I remember the day of the trial. You explained. Yes, I know.
You didn't understand?
Yes, oh, Cliff, I don't understand stocks and takeovers. Cliff, did you explain? What did you explain? Tell me.
I have the papers at home. Notes, receipts. I'll show you how I did it.
Tell me.
I borrowed. I bought. It was a gamble. I put us in hock for the rest of our lives, Martha. On a tip from a man in the States I'd never even seen. I'd only talked with him on the telephone. I had to take the chance. Brooke was waving that deal in front of me. I needed a lot of money. It was a gamble, Martha. Nothing more.
It sounds so... Oh, why can't I believe you?
You still can't?
Oh, Cliff, take me home. Show me the papers, the receipts, anything. I wish I didn't have to be shown, but
I hope I can find them, but maybe they're in my office, in the files.
Then just take me home.
I'll get them tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow.
Suppose I can't find those papers.
Well, we'll just forget the whole thing, won't we?
Will you?
No.
What will you do?
I don't know.
I know. You'll go on searching, talking to people like Mrs. Heath, maybe even the police. You'll kick up enough suspicion to get the case reviewed. Nobody will ever be able to prove I killed Jason, but while they're trying, I'll be destroyed. We'll be destroyed. I just can't let you do that. I needed that drive. The old American cure-all, a long drive in the country. Want to stretch your legs? Come on, feels good.
No, I'm all right, Cliff.
Stretch them for me. Come on, Martha. Buy that cottage in East Hampton.
West.
Remember how we wanted to own it? A place to run to if we ever had to run.
Let's go home.
There's no hurry.
No, I want to.
Your liquor supply. Come and help us.
Hope you saved a stiff one for me.
Where's Martha?
Lily.
No, George, you may not come with me.
Cliff?
It's Lily.
Oh, Lily, come in.
Locked bedrooms always make me feel guilty. You all right, darling?
Yes, I'm just tired.
You're not going to bed at this hour, are you?
No, I'm going to soak.
I suppose I didn't see George in a taxi after all. Did I?
It was George.
You go soak. I'll just sit somewhere and we'll talk.
Oh, I don't feel like talking, Lil.
That psychoanalyst I went to in 35, you didn't know me then. He always said, when you don't feel like talking, well, I don't remember his exact words, but he implied that a fear of talking had something to do with the fear of giving. Sexually, that is. Do you suspect George of giving?
No, taking.
Oh, Martha, what is wrong?
Oh, I don't know. Me, I suppose.
Oh, if you're all ready to blame yourself, then I know exactly what's wrong. But it isn't necessarily true, you know. It is always the wife's fault if the husband strays. I mean, even some unmarried men stray. You sure?
No.
You only suspect.
Yes.
Suspicion. The black plague of our middle years. Ugh. The things that can make you love men.
What? Oh. Oh, that's just one of those little things that grow between a man and a woman who live together.
What are you talking about?
His razor. I always wash it for him. I left in such a hurry this morning.
Well, there is one consolation, Martha. Eventually, whatever they're doing, and regardless of whomsoever they may be doing it with, it's over.
Yes, it must be nice to have it over with. Lil, do you mind?
You'd like me to go?
You're wonderful, Lil.
Well, I'll call you in the morning, darling.
All right.
Perhaps even before morning.
Run out of girl talk?
Oh, run along and say our goodbyes to George, Manny.
He's gone. Taking the other fella to the airport.
Sure you got that business straightened out, huh?
Did my best.
Thanks. We're in good shape. Nothing can hurt us.
Well, I can't think of anything ordinary that could hurt us. Anything out of the ordinary, prevent.
Cliff, help me.
How?
Help me.
How?
I feel in the middle of some place, high and empty. I'm frightened. I've always been so closed in, Cliff. I've always had strong arms around me. Even you. We didn't even know each other, and you put your arms around me, and all these years you've never taken them away. Right from that moment until now.
They're still around you, Martha?
No. No, I've moved out of them.
I can't find those papers, Martha. I must have left them at the office.
Oh, never mind, Cliff.
You don't want to see them?
I don't care. I don't want to care, not about anything. A little while ago, for just a moment, I even thought I might kill myself.
Stop it! I know you, Martha. You couldn't do that. That wouldn't make things right. And you have to have things right. You want Donald Heath to be freed and the real murderer put away. And you think I'm the real murderer. So you won't slit your wrist. You'll turn me in.
I don't think I could.
Not tonight. Maybe not for a year, but it'll come. Do you expect me to live with that?
I don't think I could turn you in, not even if I knew for certain. I'd find some way to live with it.
Maybe you can live with it. I can't.
Then I'll just have to find out for certain.
How? Asking questions, raking things up like a ghoul in a graveyard? Martha, forget it.
I can't.
Martha, you don't know about murderers.
Should I?
But what if Heath is innocent? That means the real murderer has gotten away with it for 6 years. Do you think he's going to stand by and let somebody rake it up? Do you think he'll just let you... How do you suppose he'll protect his freedom?
He'll kill me.
Yes?
Oh,
Can I help you, madam?
Is Mr. Clay here? Mr. Jeremy Clay?
In the back. Pay me when you leave.
Thank you.
Come in.
I'm Martha Rádkliffe. We received your letter.
And after all these years, you've decided to do something about it.
Oh, we only just received it. It was in that stolen mailbag.
And I thought he didn't answer me because it was plain brassy, calling my bluff and all that. He never even received it. That takes the bun.
It was a lie, wasn't it? Your letter. Blackmail.
Does he intend doing anything about it?
Somebody has to do something about it. Blackmail is a vicious crime.
Punishable by law. But you know about Mrs. Rádkliffe? I don't think her husband is going to tell on me. You plan to?
Yes.
Then I shall be punished. Not only for blackmail, mind you, but also for withholding evidence. You see, I didn't come forward at the trial, as the saying goes. I knew the truth. I couldn't have attempted blackmail without knowing the truth, could I?
What truth?
Your husband murdered Jason Root. That's why I was afraid to press him. One is careful about harassing a murderer.
Oh, Cliff.
And I must admit there were many times when I was tempted to press him. I could have used the money. Once or twice I even strolled by that cozy little cottage of yours in Regent's Park. I paused by the gate, looking, petting the brass gargoyles, brass. Everything about your husband's brass. Does he know you've come here?
No, he's left.
Left you? Left you alone with all this terrible knowledge?
I don't believe you.
Think clearly, Mrs. Ratcliffe. If I'm arrested for blackmail, your husband will be arrested for murder. Don't think I won't tell them everything.
They won't believe you any more than I.
Everything, Mrs. Ratcliffe, in splendid detail. Exactly how he did it, exactly how I saw him do it.
You saw him do it?
I'd no right to be there, of course. I didn't work there anymore. I had worked there. They were glad to have me at first. After all, a former lawyer does make rather an elegant handyman.
You were there?
Yes, they were quite glad to have me. Till the day they caught me helping myself to that fine store of bourbon whiskey that Mr. Rook kept in his office. Then they had to let me go. Now and again I'd steal back. At night, of course. Not that I ever drank the stuff. I merely sold it and spent the money on more exotic vices.
And you let them convict an innocent man?
Would you rather I let them convict your husband? Don't think I didn't feel a twinge now and again for poor Heath. He told the truth there in court. Pity the truth always sounds so untrue. If he hadn't been so mad for a drink, he might have had me for his very own witness. You see, as I was stealing up the stairway, he was stealing down.
Come into my office and have a drink when you've finished it.
Now what do you do, Mrs. Ratcliffe?
I've already thought of killing myself. It seemed the easy way. To lie down in burning water. They say you don't feel the sharp edge.
Now that is morbid. Why not forget it all, including my letter? I've no heart to rot in jail. I don't imagine your Mr. Brass has either. Just be thankful I didn't come forward.
Oh, you should have. It would have all been over by now.
But I didn't. We've all lived happily ever after. We'll continue to, won't we? Oh, won't we?
Oh, Mr. Radcliffe. Mrs. Radcliffe called. She's called several times.
See if you can get me on a plane to New York, Miss Osborne, tonight, if possible.
But, Mr. Radcliffe, your wife. It sounded urgent. Yes? Oh, yes, he did. Just this moment. It's Mrs. Radcliffe.
Martha?
And I believe him.
You called me back to say that.
I couldn't not say it, Cliff.
And now Clay has you convinced I'm a murderer. Now you think you can live with it.
I want to. I married all of you, Cliff. And I'll never mention it again. I'll never even think of it.
No?
I'll put it away wherever people put things like this. Wherever these things are hidden.
Of course you'll never tell anybody.
No, never. Cliff, I swear. Oh, Cliff, stay.
How the hell can any man live with a wife who might turn him in any time she damn well feels like it?
Cliff, I had to believe Clay. He wasn't lying. He wouldn't have admitted being there just to build up a lie.
He said he was there?
Yes. He saw it happen.
That's unfortunate for him.
торжественно отмечалась в Москве. В Большом зале консерватории собрались представители общественности столицы.
Boots went up to wound in the 15th minute.
Hello. Lily? Lily, I'll call you back.
I came back.
Yes, I knew you would.
I can't leave things like this, Martha. There's just too much to lose.
Yes.
You look very tired. Why don't you go to bed? Have some hot milk or a pill. Really put you under.
I don't need anything, Cliff. I'm too tired to resist.
All right.
Good night, Cliff.
Coming up?
telling you I was there was as good as telling you I'd killed Root. Then sooner or later you'd see. Then where would I be? Relax. This is the easy way. Remember you said, lie down in burning water. Oh, Lord, I wonder if women get naked when they kill themselves this way. Don't tense. There. I told you too much today. I always tell too much. Let me get them under the water. No pain. Afterwards, the clothes. Afterwards. I told her I was there. I'd gotten away with murder for years and years, but I was free. I never got a penny out of it. Never got a penny out of it, but I was free. I tried to hide the money. When you chased me, I threw it behind the boiler. I threw it, but I missed. God, I always miss. The money burnt into ashes in the boiler. The boiler missed. By the boiler.
I was so sure it was Heath. I condemned the wrong man.
So did I.